I want to do things a little bit differently today, so I'm going to need some audience participation, I'm afraid. I want a show of hands for anyone who owns Vizsla silver stock, please. Well, that's very bloody good. I'm very, very impressed. It's obviously an intelligent crowd. What about Vizsla Copper? Not a bad start either. Okay, well, I think the last time I talked about Vizsla silver here, I think we were at about $1.50, now $2.04 a share. We're fast moving towards completing our PEA. So look out for that positive news over the next little while here in, I think, July. I've seen some preliminary numbers. I'm very, very impressed with what we've got down there in Mexico. I think it's the most significant silver discovery really in the past 30 years and will be one of the world's great silver mines once we get going on the development story. So well done for being a shareholder, and we thank you for your support. Vizsla Copper, this is a passion project of mine. I've got to say, Chen's done the heavy lifting there to explain the copper market. I'm super bullish. I think we'll see $20 to $30 per pound copper probably before the back end of this next decade, and there's some good reasons that I'll come to on that front. And very, very interesting. Chen, I was very impressed with what you had to say there and the granularity of your data around silver and copper, but very impressed and thrilled to see that you're saying that the next big winners, the places where you want to put your money are in copper and silver, and we've got plenty of both on the various Vizsla companies. I came across this slide yesterday. It's a little bit hard to see there, but the message is the supply-demand gap that's coming in copper is extraordinary. I started my career with Rio Tinto in 1999 and the copper price was 71 cents, diminishing at a cent a year is what we had to put it in our models, and Rio Tinto well and truly missed the copper boat in that early part of that last boom, and then eventually caught up. But of course what we saw in that time was the copper market move from about 14 million tonnes per annum of demand to 20 million tonnes per annum. So we saw a 6 to 7 million tonne per annum jump in demand. This time around, BHP is saying that we need to see another 9 million tonnes per annum by 2030 of production. I can see where maybe 2 million tonnes of that comes from, but I can't see where the rest comes from. 6, 7, 8 million tonnes. We need, the greatest copper discovery in recent times is, of course, Friedland's Kamoa deposit in Kukula. That's going to produce 500,000 tonnes of copper. Well, we need another 15 to 20 of those. They're not out there. I've been looking around the world, my team and I, at copper projects for the past 5 years. We've kicked the tyres on over 500 projects, and I can tell you there simply aren't enough copper projects to support the demand that's coming. And hence, I think, we saw the copper price go from 71 cents in 2000 all the way up to $4.60, $4.70 back in 2011-12. That was a 6 times increase in the metal price alone. And people say I'm mad when I say that copper's going to go to $20 or $30, Chen. I think it's absolutely going to go there because this time round the supply side is so much more challenged. So with that in mind, we've been putting our foot on as much copper in a good jurisdiction as we can. There's a lot of slides there. Sorry, I'll skip over those. I've covered all of that. Putting our foot on as much ground as we can in British Columbia. We love Canada. I'm a proud Canadian and proud British Columbian. I think British Columbia has the opportunity to become the next Chile of copper production in this next cycle if we get it right and if we can permit, and that's something that we need to see happen and work on. And I know Pierre Poilievre's talking about streamlining and improving permitting process and times here, so I'm positive about that opportunity. But up in the hills here north of us, there's tens of billions of tonnes of ore and billions of tonnes of metal that can be developed. Of course, we get a bit of a bad rap for the grade of these projects at 0.4, 0.5% copper, but we know that these sorts of projects will work going forward. But there are high-grade projects up there as well, and we have a few of those. I've got a fabulous team behind me. A lot of you will know the people there, so I won't go into any detail on that front. The other thing that I've seen happen here recently, and I set up something called the Vancouver Mining Collective, and we've been having luncheons. I had Jonathan price talked to 350 of our closest mates last Monday at the Mining Collective luncheon. And Jonathan highlighted the fact that Teck is going back to Norm Keevil's original model of developing the developers and exploring the explorers. So we're starting to see those majors come back to investing in copper projects in British Columbia, because there's a hell of a lot of copper in those hills, as I say. And we've seen BHP, South 32 and others make major investments. So we think it's a good place, it's a good jurisdiction, and you can get things done here. So with that in mind, you know, we're focused here on British Columbia and in Canada more broadly. We like the US. You know, we've heard from American Pacific. I was very impressed with what I heard there, and I'll be buying some stock myself. The timing's right. Things are very, very cheap. If you look at our company, we've got a market capitalisation of $19 million today. You know, when the copper price really takes off, things will change. I think the combined market cap of our projects, if you go back 10 years ago, was well over $120 million. So the rising tide will float all boats in that case. So we offer, for not much money, extreme leverage to the copper boom that's coming, and we've got a fabulous team doing all that. The key point for Vizsla Copper, we've got a hell of a lot of metal on the books. We bought Woodjam copper off Bill Morton 2 years ago. That gave us 2 billion pounds of copper in the ground and 1 million ounces of gold. We recently closed 2 weeks ago. We bought Universal Copper, which gave us the copper project, which added another 2 billion pounds of metal and 750,000 ounces of gold to the books. So getting up towards 2 million ounces of gold, 4 billion pounds of copper. So our extreme leverage to a rising copper price is the message. I'll just very quickly touch on some details. And look, you can, we've got a booth back there. Our head of IR, John Ward's there. You can contact anyone at our team to find out more details. But the Woodjam project's our flagship at the moment. We bought the Woodjam project. Sits right south of the Mount Polly mine, Imperial Metals, major producer there. The property's within 10 kilometres of that open pit. There's been 5 porphyry coppers found on the property to date. There's a huge amount of metal all across the huge property we've got. It's over 90,000 hectares. Goes to within sight of that Mount Polly mine. We'll be drilling come July in and around some of our high-grade hits. And as I mentioned before, you know, BC porphyries get a bit of a bad rap for being lower grade, but within our project here at that Deerhorn project, we've got 33 million tonnes at 0.7% copper equivalent. So you can get higher grades. We're looking at pulling those out, and we'll be drill testing to better define those higher grade zones when we get drilling. And I think we're a good, strong chance of having some interesting results once we hit the ground again this summer. A little bit more detail on the projects. This is a really interesting part of the Earth's crust. Bill and the team there at Woodjam, they tested 8 targets and made 5 porphyry discoveries. We announced the discovery of a new porphyry last year. It's you know, highly endowed, and of course, as I say, just south of Mount Polly, which is a major producer. So we know it's the right part of the world for exploring copper. So there's a lot of exploration upside, but the company's backed by that big resource base that we already have. That's a little bit about our megaton zone. That's the recently announced discovery that we've made. We haven't zeroed in on the core of that system, but I'm excited to get in and test some of that further this year. And then just very quickly, moving to our Poplar project, that's just south of the highway there near Houston in central British Columbia, just north of Imperial Metals Huckleberry mine. Again, well mineralised area. There's a significant porphyry discovery there. The exciting thing for me about this acquisition was that for $2.5 million worth of stock, we acquired 2 billion pounds of copper and 750,000 ounces of gold. I take the view that you can't go wrong buying that much metal at these prices, and you can't go wrong being a shareholder at this price. And I'll leave you with that. Thank you very much for coming out on a Saturday, sunny Saturday. Thanks, Chen.